Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Little, and you're listening to the Filmmaking Friends Podcast, episode number 9. Today, we're hanging out with full-time filmmaker, actor, and good friend, Mr. Jake Stormoen. We get to talk about what it's like to work on the CW show The Outpost. We even find a little bit of time to talk about our favorite movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the episode. Now, for those people out there who do not know who Jake Stormoen is, Jake has been in lots of great stuff. Step It Up 2? Or 1?
Yeah, no.
2?
The second Step Up film was the first thing I was ever in.
Yep. So he's been in that. He's been in the awesome Mythica fantasy adventure series. And now he is on a CW show called
The Outpost.
The Outpost. Yeah. And you play who on The Outpost?
I play Garrett Spears, who is the captain of this knightly order, this military order, the guard at the Outpost, which is this kind of, this Mos Eisley-esque bastion of civilization at the edge of the realm, full of unsavory characters, and it's my responsibility to keep them in check. And this airs on the CW, I think, on Tuesday nights? It does. Right? Tuesdays at 9/8 Central. Look at that. We're doing it. We're advertising.
Just a little. We can do a little bit.
I love
fine.
it.
I don't have any sponsors, so this is fine that we're doing this much. Audience can probably handle it. And then, of course, in foreign markets, it's not playing on the CW. It's playing on, of course... Sci-Fi Channel.
Yes,
right.
Correct. So pretty much... It's kind of crazy. Pretty much everywhere else in the world, Latin America and all over the place, it's on Sci-Fi Channel. So
it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Fun show. So let's go back a little bit. I always like to ask everybody, kind of like, what was it? When did you realize that you wanted to work in the film industry? What's the trigger?
Okay, I'm going to answer that, but first I have to clarify.
Yes.
If anybody is looking up Step Up 2 now. We joke that it was the first. I was a glorified extra. I had one line. The whole scene got cut. You might be able to spot me. It's a little bit of a Where's Waldo situation. Yeah. Let's not pretend that I was a main role in Step Up 2. Now, okay, go ahead.
Wait, I was going to say, just as a side note to that.
Yes.
Because you said you were basically a featured extra.
Yes.
For Friends, I think I've been an extra just because they're like, Ryan, get in there. I need someone to stand over there by that garbage can or whatever. But paid on the other side of the camera. I was a featured extra on a episode of the TV series 21 Jump Street.
I remember
back when I was a teenager in the late 80s. And it was Richard Grieco's first episode. I can't tell you the name of the episode, but my job was to walk up in the cafeteria where Johnny Depp was sitting with the hooligans of that episode, and they were trying to sell him a gun in the cafeteria, or at least, let them know that, after school I'll sell you this handgun. And I see it, and the guy stares at me, and I kind of like walk off like, oh, I'm scared,
Do you know what's crazy?
Anyway.
In Step Up 2, I was an extra in a cafeteria scene as well. I swear to you.
We're bonding.
There it is. That's
kind of where careers start, right?
In
cafeteria scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
All right. Enough talking about being extras.
Yes, okay.
Not just extras, featured
extras. Let's get it right.
Yeah, that's...
Credit where credit's due.
Woo, that's big time. Anyway, so let's go back to when do you realize that you want to work in this crazy industry?
Sure. So, you and I have talked extensively about this, and you know that my favorite movie of all time, and has been since I was a child, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I remember the first time I saw it to this day.
Yeah. How old were you?
I would have been probably 8 years old.
Yeah.
I was at a dinner party that my parents were attending, and I got dragged along, right? Because I was old enough to go and sit in the other room and watch a movie or whatever. And I remember my dad looking through their VHS tapes and just trying to find something to entertain me. And he says, what about Indiana Jones? You want to watch Indiana Jones? And I said, I don't know. And my dad goes, Jake, have you not seen Indiana Jones? I said, no. And I was glued. He put it on just as like keep Jake busy. I was glued to it at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Immediately changed my life, right? Like immediately I was a little kid who spent every waking moment now playing in the woods and either as a knight, sword fighting or whatever, or Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
I tried to find a fedora. I tried to find a jump rope as a whip or whatever,
Right.
whatever little
Yeah,
kids do.
Right.
But I couldn't shake it. I just wanted to go on adventures like that. And, then I grow up and I mature a little bit, and you realize what's involved. I remember my parents sent me to an archaeology camp because I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Wow.
And I love history to this day. I love
Yeah.
history. I have an appreciation for history. But oh my gosh, I was so bored at this camp. And I said,
Yeah.
where's all the, how come I'm not fighting Nazis and looking for buried treasure? I'm digging in the dirt with a toothbrush right now, and in a roped off grid, and which now as an adult I think I'd actually enjoy. But at the time I said, okay, wait a second, and it took me a little too long to realize that I wanted to have Harrison Ford's job, not Indy's, but
Right. But you thought, it'd be fun to be that.
right.
character, right?
That's
kind of the acting aspect.
absolutely yeah, for sure.
I remember I saw the movie. I don't remember how old I was now. I can't remember, but I know my dad took me to the theater to see it, and I had no understanding or what it was we were going to see, and I just remember coming out of the movie theater, and I said to my dad, I distinctly remember saying to my dad, I don't know what that job is, but that's the job I want. And I was referring to like being in charge of that. I didn't want to be Indiana Jones. I think it was rad, but I didn't want to be Indiana Jones. But just the idea of making movies.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand, how many people it took. I didn't, for all I knew at that time, it could have been 5 people shooting it. But I had no comprehension of that.
But now,
and I didn't even know who Spielberg was. I had no comprehension of who he was.
No, same. When I first
For
saw
all I know was like,
yeah.
you only get to do one movie, and that's all you ever get to do.
Yep.
So I'm like, this guy really nailed it. This is his one movie. He's really done well.
No,
And then,
100% the same. And it's funny because now we both do this for a living, in various aspects of it. Yeah. And I go back to this day and I watch Raiders, and to me, from a technical standpoint, even now, it's a perfect movie to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, you really, there's so much that's just, there's a reason it became as iconic as it did. Yeah. And it's a joy to watch, both as a fan and as a filmmaker. I
totally agree. It's like it rejuvenates you.
It totally does.
Yeah,
100%.
And it's funny because, I've shown it to my kids, and my kids say, yeah, it's pretty good. And I can see from their perspective, like, if I was their age now, this may not be the big movie for me. It might be something else. It's just a guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's my favorite movie because I'm so connected to it, because it just drives a lot of my passions about filmmaking. Well, let's talk a little bit, because you've done now 2 TV series. You've done this one, which is going on right now. And of course, then you did a sci-fi one before that, Extinct.
Do you know anybody else who worked on that?
I don't know. I right after we finished, well, I've been told that I worked on it. Right after I finished it, I actually had my memories erased. So
okay,
I have no memory of working on it.
Okay, got it.
Anyway.
You did, though. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. So unfortunately, yes, I guess I was there. No, we had a really good time. It was a fun show. And I have lots of good memories from doing it, for sure. Just, for me, when it came to my perspective of coming into working on a TV series, coming from doing features and commercials,
just
but
real
mostly
quick,
features.
For those listening, it's a show called Extinct.
It's called Extinct.
That Ryan directed much of, and I was one of the primary characters.
Yes, you were. Yeah. And it was we had a lot of good experiences on it, and it's fun. It's a fun show. What I was going to say is, going into working on a TV series, and this is kind of where I want to go with asking some of the questions for you, is going into that for me as a director, I literally thought I was going to die, because it was like shooting. It literally felt like I was shooting 5 movies all at once for me. For the things that I was responsible for. That's what it felt like to me.
You kind of were, though. I mean, that's a fair assessment.
Yeah, TV is a different animal. Sometimes people think, oh, well, what's TV? I mean, it's just like 1-hour movies, right? It's like, well, no, there's a lot more to it than that. And obviously, we could do 4 podcasts on it. Right. But my point of just kind of setting the groundwork for that is for you. Okay, so you've done lots of great movies, and now you come into Extinct. We don't even have to talk about Extinct. We just talk about going TV series versus features.
Sure.
What for an actor? What are some of the immediate differences for you?
I mean, the first thing I would touch on is shooting schedules.
Right.
And a lot of that there's so much variance in that answer as well, because it depends on, if you have a feature film and it's a lower budget feature film, you might be shooting the entire thing out in 3 weeks, in 2 or 3 weeks.
So the page count could be similar.
It could be similar for sure.
For sure.
But I would say the average page count is probably what we did on Extinct, to be honest, is about 8 days per episode.
Right.
And that was TV hours, and that's what I was working with on the Outpost as well, which is currently airing. And we were on, I think, actually the very same time frame. So 8 days, 8 shooting days.
Yeah.
For those not familiar, so we'd shoot Monday through Friday, or Tuesday through Saturday, more often than not.
Yeah.
Then you'd have Sundays and Mondays off, and so that would be your 5 days. You'd come back on a Wednesday, and go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and there's your 8 days for the episode. And it's a shifting schedule. But that's a TV hour, which is 44 minutes of footage on average.
On Extinct, because of the network we were on, we were actually shooting 56. We were shooting an additional 10 minutes.
Right, true.
And we were doing that in 8 days. So that was a little trickier for us.
Yeah, that's
true. I would have
true.
loved to have been on 8 days at
44, yeah.
That would have been awesome. It would have probably still would have been hard, but I think it would have felt certainly more doable, or we could do more things.
Yeah.
But okay, let's just say for a moment that when it comes from the feature world that you get to shoot less pages, let's say, right? Let's take that off the table.
Let's say in an ideal world.
In an ideal world, you're doing a feature,
average,
not a low budget feature.
Right. An average budget feature is going to be, I would say, easily a couple months.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 to 10 week shoot.
Yeah,
probably.
so the page counts is much more manageable.
Yes.
It's more refined. You're going to shoot this one scene for 2.5 pages, and that's the whole thing we're going to do today.
Right.
So on a TV series, you're just going like crazy, right? So let's specifically talk about Outpost, because that's what you're currently working on. So, and you guys have a lot of visual effects.
Yep.
There's action. It's not like you guys just show up and wear jeans and t-shirts and just start talking. I mean, you got all this wardrobe you got to put on. There's a lot goes into it.
My character's in
a lot of props.
A full suit of armor. Right.
Yeah,
right.
a lot of props. So, I mean, you have to go really fast. That's one of the big things.
You do, and that's the thing is, you 100% have to come prepared. Mm-hmm. And now the good thing with TV as well is typically, and not always, this is not always the case, but with ours, it certainly was. There's probably more primary characters and more main characters than there would be in a film, because you have the luxury of having time to follow several storylines.
Oh, sure.
So whereas on a feature, you might have more time to shoot the whole thing. But if you're the lead of the feature, you're memorizing so much more.
Yeah.
Now with TV, you're memorizing faster, but on average, it's a smaller amount at once. Do you know what I mean? For us, it was, at least. We've got 4 main characters, and probably 2 or 3 more that are very, very prominent. So already that's 6 or 7 fairly prominent characters, each with their own, run-off stories and tangents and things like that. So my scenes, on average, weren't more than 3 or 4 pages per scene. And I'm, the male lead of the series, and I probably only have 3 scenes per episode. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, and they're
because they're side
substantial.
Stories?
Yeah, and because
okay.
The story itself follows this female character, and somebody's gonna look this up and go, "What are you talking about, man? You're in 5 or 6." I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know. But that's as memory serves it.
Yeah.
So yes, you're moving faster, but maybe it's a little easier to tackle. And the good thing about TV as well is our series, just like Extinct, was a 10-episode season. Mm-hmm. So now you have 10 episodes to find your character, to really build it, to have that character arc and that growth. I will say this, though, because you are moving so fast, because it's 8 days, you do have to show up prepared. You have to be ready to go, and you have to know your lines. You have to. Because half the time, you're only getting 1 or 2 takes per angle. And so your performance kind of has to be where it's going to be. There's not a lot of room to find it. You know what I mean? You kind of have to come and be ready to go.
Right.
And with TV, especially when you have a crew, and you know what this is like, you've DP'd while directing.
Yeah.
Half the time, if you're chasing daylight or you're running out of time, It's just a matter of whether or not the shots and focus and the camera moves are right.
Yeah.
So once you get that good camera take, you have no choice but to move on.
On this show, were you doing a lot of one take wonders, or were you always getting at least a couple takes of everything?
I would say we had at least two or three per angle, but it depends on, fight scenes. You're going to have more angles, but it's also less dialogues. So it's not as actory, right? You know what I mean? It's not as. But on dramatic scenes, I mean, and it's television, so it's the land of the MCU or medium close up and things like that. So it's kind of your main shots. There's not a ton of time for crazy artistic dolly shots or tracking shots or anything like that. You got to get the meat and potatoes first, and then you can have fun if there's time left. But
it feels like when it comes to television, because there's some compromising that has to go on. Specifically from the director's perspective, you kind of have to look at it and go, okay, where are my 2 or 3 moments going to be?
Sure.
Where am I going to want to ask for a little extra time to get that great thing that's going to show up in the teaser for the show, or when someone watches the show, they're like, oh, that was a good episode. That one scene, though, when that happened, it was awesome the way they shot it, or the way it emotionally affected me. Because if you go into a TV series and you kind of like want everything to be really great, you're kind of going to end up with everything sort of not being great or not being bad, but just kind of even.
It's true. You have to pick your battles a little bit. Yeah,
right?
No, it's true. It's so true. And that's another thing with features too, is you have room for silence. I feel I'm a fan of silence at times and letting moments draw out during conversation when the occasion calls for it. When it would be a realistic moment to just sit and experience it for a minute. And often in television, you don't have time for that, because you have those 44 minutes and you have so much to tell, and you got to set up the next episode, and you have to recap kind of the previous one a little bit.
For sure.
So you kind of have to get through it. I find, which isn't always a bad thing, but it's a difference for sure.
So tell me, as an actor, I don't know how many different directors you had on season 1 of the show, but you obviously know your character better than anyone. You kind of know what your character would do, wouldn't do, and all that. And then these directors come in who maybe haven't directed an episode before. They come in. How do you get worried at all? Like when they come in, you're like, dude,
absolutely.
That's an awesome shot, but you're not going to make your day if you do that more than once today.
No, I mean, look, I don't say this to throw anybody under the bus, because it's just part of the process. This isn't against an individual. This is
let's be clear here. You've done 2 TV series. Yeah. So you could be talking about any director.
It's true. It's true. But,
or a show that you've been the guest star.
But again,
so we're not talking necessarily. You're talking about any specific person.
But I truly, I don't say that just to cover my own butt either. Right. I'm not throwing any unnamed person under the bus and saying this. It's a fact of the job, and it's a fact of human nature. Yeah. That people come in with their own vision. Directors come in and they think, they've poured all this thought into their episode. And whether they're aware of what's been shot already or not, there's only so much they can do with that if they want their own voice to be heard and be seen stylistically, directorially. I think that sounds like a word. Let's go with that. That sounds like a word. You know what I'm saying.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
You know what I'm putting down. I appreciate that. Everybody listening is going, oh my God, actors, right? But no, it for sure. I mean, and there were definite moments where, I don't know, let's say, for example, one of the directors wanted the comedy ramped up a little bit or something in a particular scene, which is great. It was a fun way to do it, but it didn't fit. It's, maybe it's the opening of one episode and it didn't fit the ending of the previous one or something like that. You know what I mean? Where all of a sudden now you have 2 very different voices being told, and yes, when they air back to in sequence, there'll be a week break between. Right. But essentially, the story is continuing. And
somebody's going to binge watch them eventually.
And that's my point.
And they're going to see them continuous.
Exactly. And so all of a sudden, the tone is so different. Yeah. And things like that are tough because, as an actor, you want to say, look, I've lived in this person's shoes every day for 12 hours a day for the last 3.5 months. could we maybe try it like this? But at the same time, you want to respect them as the director and understand that they're telling a story and they have a job to do, and you have to trust them to see the bigger picture. Yeah. So it is. It's a dance a little bit.
When it comes to working with different directors on a TV series, what, and you can take them from different directors, different qualities from different directors. Sure. But if you can make a little checklist of like, these few qualities are the kind of directors that I enjoy working with. What on a TV series we're talking about, not film. Okay. Like what are the qualities that are helpful to you? They're going to help you achieve what your objectives are as an actor on that TV series.
I like when a director will just quickly sit down beforehand with the actors in the scene. Yeah. And just everybody has just a very, very quick, I mean, I'm talking 30 seconds, powwow of what happened previously. Do you know what I mean? It's just so everybody's on the same page. Yeah. Okay, hey, let's just remember you're coming from here. This hasn't happened yet. This has happened. Yeah. Let's just bear that in mind as we go through the scene. Let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's go through it. Other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot that I would say a director specifically for television. Yeah. In general, I really enjoy it when a director will let you, the actor, finish the scene out, or if it's a heavier scene, give you a minute beforehand. And I will say, Ryan, you're very good about this, for example, and I've talked to people about this. We've sung your praises on this, is you are very truly respectful of that, and if a few minutes are needed. You're talking about preparing for something emotional. Yeah, exactly, and not making jokes on set and loud and things like that, and just having a professional air when the time calls for it. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean you have to be a downer all the time, but just when that's necessary, especially when you have so much to get done. Right. It's nice for everybody to just appreciate that and acknowledge that and give you a minute. The one thing I don't like is... tell me something you don't like. Personally, not a fan of if you have to pick up partway through a scene or whatever, if you're interrupted halfway through a sentence and then pick it up halfway through a sentence. Do you know what I mean? Or something like that. Like the director starts talking? Yeah. It's like, you know what? We're running out of time. Cut. Can we take it back from blank word or start the line? It's hard for you. It's so hard. Yeah. And but I see your point about letting you finish it out, because if you're like, oh, I'm really nailing it, I'm feeling this. Yeah. You'd love to go to the end. So that makes sense. And also it's nice to have an extra 10 seconds at the end of the shot, even of silence. Do you know what I mean? Of sitting in the emotion for a second and not necessarily yelling cut immediately when it's done. I was notoriously bad for that when I first started directing, where I would be like, oh, he finished his line and cut. And I remember an editor and even a really good acting friend of mine, coach friend of mine would say, you need to let it go for a little bit. Even if it gets to the point where they like look at you like, are you awake over there? Because the scene's over. You give them that little extra, you might need that little button for a transition or whatever, or the music cue or whatever. So it's always good to let it go longer than you think you need, right? And especially also if you're going to do another take, which more often than not you'll try to, right, if you can. But to let them, let the actor sit in that for just an extra second, I think helps stay in it then. Because you're retaining whatever that frequency is of emotion, whether that's high, whether you're laughing and whatever, and goofing around, or it's a more serious tone. But remaining in that for just an extra 5-10 seconds of nobody talking helps you then kind of reset, I think, if that's needed as well. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Jake, it's been awesome to sit here and talk to you about your new TV series, The Outpost, and I appreciate your insights as a actor who's worked both in independent films as well as on 2 TV series. Of course, thank you. Great. So my final question for you is, where can people find you on social media? So just my name, Jake Stormoen, STORMOEN. So at Jake Stormoen is going to be on Instagram, Twitter, and if you look on Facebook, there's a page up there somewhere with the little blue check mark or whatever they do. I'm sensing the Facebook is not on the top of the list of social media. I used to use Facebook more, but I feel like their algorithms are just kind of weird now. And maybe I am speaking completely out of turn on that. Maybe I'm crazy, but I tend to use Twitter and Instagram more. So definitely, find me on there. Say hello. Yes, definitely check out
Jake's stuff, and well, watch The Outpost.
There you go. Tuesday nights.
All right, guys, thanks for checking out the podcast today. We appreciate your time. I wish you the very best of luck on your next film project. We'll talk soon.